Central Air Conditioning presents Recipe for Boiled Wife. Take one fresh, good-natured wife. Add 3 small children and a barking dog. Stir well. Blend in equal parts of heat, humidity, dust, and stale air. Baste with annoying phone calls, peddlers at the door, skinned knees, and spilled milk. Top with a splitting headache. Let mixture simmer in a 98-degree home for 10 hours. Test by arriving home from your cool office with a cheery, "Have a nice day." Cool your entire home with Trane Central Air Conditioning. It can be installed quickly at a surprisingly reasonable cost. And it's engineered to the same quality standards as the Trane equipment that goes into offices, schools, and big buildings. So stop boiling your wife in a non-air conditioned home. Call Trane for a free estimate.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining. Did you know the ESCO HVAC show? Thought that was quite the interesting commercial. Did you like that, Ty?
I love that. That was great.
I was skimming through my archives for 1940s, 1950s, looking through different air conditioning and, home conditioning videos, trying to tie them in. Andrew, how's it going today?
Good. Andrew or Andy, but yeah, all good.
Andrew Fuselier, sorry about that. All right. Hey, I think Jason was even joining us too. So I actually skimmed into Jason at the last minute because I wasn't sure if he'd make it. Jason, I see that you're in there. You don't have to join us unless you want to. We thought we might not have Andrew join us, so we were getting ready to go to Plan B. So appreciate everybody joining us. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about ways that we can do a couple different perspectives. One is that we can monitor existing legacy systems, because as we talk about the technology that we're introducing into the industry, a lot of next-gen inverters that have pressure transducers, temperature thermistors that are helping us monitor and manage systems. We have a lot of legacy. Majority of our equipment in the industry are legacy systems that really don't have any type of internal monitoring, any type of system analysis. And so when we look at this from the perspective of, especially from the contractor and contractor development, and ways to build closer, tighter relationships with our consumers, we have technology and we have innovations and we have AI that are really starting to come into the play. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about SmartAC and where the company came from.
Yeah, so it actually started right about 6 years ago. There was a company that existed that we had before this, and we were primarily focused on energy efficiency around air conditioning, and that was kind of the direction that we've been heading for a while. And through that process of trying to go through contractors and understand what brought value to their business, certainly a consumer loves the idea of paying less for their AC. But we had put in some ports into our monitoring system that allowed for additional health aspects of it, and that's really what the contractors started latching onto and said, "Well, that has value to me. To actually know what's going on has value." So that kind of put us on the journey, saying, "All right, well, is there anything out there like that? Like what exists today?" So, rewind your mental clock back. Sensi had a product out there that was doing something similar. There was a company called Alert Labs. So we tracked down people that had been using it and trying to figure out, okay, well, where's the value for you in this? And it was what we expected. It was like, look, my business relies on me being present in a home, but every truck roll has a cost.
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, well, if we can reduce the cost, so there's something there. But then another topic came up, which is, well, it takes me a lot of time to retrofit these systems to have the kind of data that I'm looking for that will drive value. And so we said, all right, well, there's another one we got to check off the box. There's the unit economics have to work, but then also it's got to be really simple and fast.
Yeah.
And then some contractors that were, I'd say, early adopters of this, they might have 3 different portals, right? They had a Sensi portal, they had a Trane portal, and they had a Linux portal. And they're like, okay, now I got to navigate how I do this across multiple different portals on this. We said, all right, well, it's got to work across every OEM, regardless of thermostat. And that's really what set us on the journey of how do we bring effective monitoring to it? And then where's the real value in that? And then we started at the homeowner, because if the homeowner doesn't let it in the home, then you have no chance, right?
Yep.
And so the center of everything that we started creating was, we need to have something that has just immediate value, where the homeowner says, yes, I want it, but that it improves the overall economics of the contractor across all of the challenges that we uncovered with membership programs. And that was everything from the homeowner saying, yes, I want it, to many of the traditional programs that existed were really built on the back of a day one discount, right? So it's like, you sign up for this membership, I'll give you 10-50% off today. And that was a lot of the motivation for sign up. So that the customer retention rate wasn't great. Once they had the discount, then they kind of fell off over time relatively quickly. And then we said, okay, well, what are the economics behind your program? How much does a truck roll cost? And as we dug in, what we found is that, yes, on the whole, a lot of these programs actually do return value to a contractor, but way, way, way less than what is possible if you enable a system to have communications and you open up those lines of communication to the homeowner and create just a fantastic customer engagement experience. And so that's really where we started 6 years ago. Is we started with feedback from the market, from the industry, saying this is a hole and this is a problem. And there wasn't really anybody focused on it purely at that level. It was always just, yes, memberships are good, maintenance plans are good, I'm going to have one, but how well are you actually monitoring what that does for you? What's that returning to your business? So that really is the entire foundation, fundamentals behind why we created the company and everything we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what intrigued me about it. I've heard about SmartAC for a while, hadn't dove too deep into it, but as we're starting to work with our educational programs and encouraging our programs to start focusing on the technologies, right? The innovations that are happening in our industry, ways that we can become more efficient as an industry. We all struggle with finding good help, whether it's an educator, whether it is a contractor. We're faced with a shortage of prepared and qualified technicians in the field. So anything we can do to help become more efficient is absolutely an asset to the industry. So we'll have a mix in our audience today, and we'd love to know in the chat, are you an educator? Are you a contractor? Are you a student? And particularly if you're a student and have any questions. And so along the way, if you have any questions, any comments, let us know. We'll try to address them. And so I actually... SmartAC sent me a kit that I'll actually play a video here in a minute of walking through, doing an installation, monitoring my system, because now I've got new technology, don't get me wrong, here in the studio, in the shop, and in the garage, I run a multi-port in low ambient inverter from Daikin. But on the house, right, it was new construction, came with a 14-SEER single stage AC and a single stage 95 gas furnace. I would love to yank it out, but it's brand new, still under warranty. Nothing I can do about it, right? And so It intrigued me for having a new home and still being able to monitor what my system is doing and utilizing AI for preventative. And so as we go through this presentation, if anyone has any questions about that, I definitely want you to bring it up, because I know Ty and Jason and I are probably going to have some along the way. So, and Jason, thanks for joining us last minute. And sorry about sending it off to you, but I thought maybe it was going to be like an impromptu show. But
no worries, I'm here, and I will have questions. Trust me.
All right. And so I'll run the presentation from here, Andrew. We titled it Maximizing Customer Loyalty because it really is about making connections with the customers. And but for our side, we're very intrigued with the technology. So you tell me along the way places that we want to stop and spend some time.
Well, go to slide 6. I think, it's highlighting really the primary metrics. When we first get introduced to a new company, and whether they're small or they're large, we say, are these metrics that you can quickly pull up related to your membership program? Like, how readily available are these? We know what the industry standards are. We've done a ton of research to know that. But what about you as an individual contractor? And I'm shocked at the data exists, but how far down we've got to dig to pull out these numbers. And it's not their fault, right? There hasn't been really a way to change it. But when you dig into the metrics and you realize your conversion rate, it is what it is, right? And so you think, okay, well, more training for my CSRs, better selling techniques, and more on the techs, like we'll get a higher conversion rate, higher churn, or my retention could be higher. Like they all know that some of these things. But the big one to me is on the no fee truck rolls or low fee truck rolls, right? We say run every ticket at $150 or less that you receive from a membership standard visit. And it's unbelievable how many are out there. And so this is where we start. We say, well, look, this is what we're going to attack. This is what we are here to do, is to take every one of these metrics and improve it. And there's a variety of different things that go behind this. On the conversion side, we spend a ton of time in the customer psychology aspect. Go to the next slide, if you will. And what we say is, why are they signing up and why are they leaving, right? It's primarily tied to the motivation of the day one discount. And that's okay, because you want that conversion. But then what's the real value you're delivering past that? What's the homeowner perspective on this? So we've surveyed over 1,000 homeowners on everything related to HVAC and these experiences. And this is what they felt. They felt, well, I got that. And then they showed up 6 months later and immediately they were trying to sell me something else. And then they showed up another 6 months and they're selling me something else again. And not only that, we talk to the technicians and we say, how do you feel about those visits? And almost across the board, they aren't thrilled, especially if most of the technicians out there, they love doing a good job and solving problems, not drumming up ways to sell more stuff, especially to a homeowner where they know the system is, maybe it's not perfectly optimized, but it's still performing. And if the focus goes to the sales pressure, very quickly, the homeowner perspective says, you know what, this is not for me anymore. And they end up moving on. If you go 2 slides up. And so when we dig in and we really ask them and challenge them to look at the numbers, this whole slide is designed to tell you that about 15% of the visits were driving 99% of profit of the overall program. And a lot of people said, yeah, we know that, right? Contractors like, yeah, we know that. That's why we have to go to every home, because we don't know where it's going to come from. And we're like, well, let's look at it differently. What if you did know? What if you knew where there was revenue opportunity and where there wasn't likely revenue opportunity? How valuable would that be? And so that's what we spend a lot of time looking at, is we surface to contractors where there is opportunity, but it's opportunity based in need. And this is a different perspective because it's not need today, right? It's not a demand call, but it's a call to Ms. Jones to say, look, we know that you're probably comfortable right now. And in fact, we can see it's still 74 in your home and everything looks good. But what you don't see is that your system's been running much harder to maintain that comfort. So you will have a loss of comfort that will necessitate a demand call. We'd rather get ahead of it. Now, homeowners they're not used to this. It's a relatively new thing. And so a lot of times they'll go, you know what? No, thanks. I'm fine. I'll see you later. And that's okay too, because all the system is designed to do, and I say system platform, we're designed to bring transparency and awareness to both sides. So the homeowner is now aware that the contractor is aware there's a problem. So when that thing breaks in 2 weeks or 2 months, they've gotten that phone call and we did our job. The system did its job. The contractor did its job. And the trust level goes up tremendously. And so we've developed now a sense of peace of mind for a homeowner that this is not about something that you're going to just use to come sell me stuff. This is truly something you're looking after for the comfort for my home.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see that. I mean, I think about that from a homeowner. If I get that call, we all get those kind of calls. Are you interested in this? So even if I'm part of a service, I may be like, no, I'm happy right where I'm at. I may not even hear exactly what's being said, right? Until my equipment actually does break down and I go, wait a minute. I missed that. I had the opportunity. I was contacted about this. And I've never experienced that before. You're right. It's a different mentality to think about. And that's why I think it's important for us to understand these types of technologies, because this is going to change not just our perspective, but a lot of consumers' perspectives on a high value HVAC contractor. I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to have programs that are teaching the students the things that they need to be prepared for the industry. And technology is one of those things that we are responsible for at least keeping them aware of and preparing them for. And these are the kind of things that I do believe will change our industry going forward, is that predictive diagnostics.
Yeah, it's a change. It's a change in the way that you interact with the customer So there's some discomfort there, right? They're used to responding. They're used to being firefighters, and so the analogy we like to give, well, is imagine driving a car 100 years ago. It was running or not running, right? And then the dashboard came out, and now you had initial indications of something that might be wrong. Well, now imagine partnering that dashboard with an OnStar that's actively monitoring it, and you're getting a call while you're driving that says, "Hey, your tire's going to go flat in 2 miles, but there's a service shop in 1 mile. If you pull off the road, you can avoid it." Right? It's wildly different, and so that's what we do a lot of training with CSRs on what we call the nurture cycle. Your job is no longer to just say, "Look, we need to be out there right now because we got to fix this." And that there's not a problem that's developed necessarily that's there, but your job is now to nurture. Your job is to bring transparency to what will become an issue, and so it is a different mindset altogether. If you go one slide down, so the whole aspect of what we've done here is we call smart maintenance, and that's just a new and better way to run your membership program. And on the next slide, when we meet, we say, look, here are the goals, right? Here's what we're trying to help you fix. We want to increase your signups, decrease churn, optimize your resources and margin, deliver more repeat services, but that's trusted services, and improve that overall customer experience where they say, I am so thrilled I have this. I'm so thrilled that you as a contractor brought me this. I'm never leaving. And that's evident in the next slide. You'll see where we have, through our platform, across all of our contractors, over a 97% retention rate in these memberships. So we've just completely changed the way people think about the contractor's relationship from not just being a firefighter that shows up when the problem exists. It's someone who's watching to help prevent the future fires. And that has been awesome for us. And I'd say a big reason why we've grown as quickly as we have.
Yeah, it's a great comment from Eugene. As we start having these new generations of technicians that are very tech savvy, they're going to be utilizing these tools going forward. I just now finished up with a webinar from some industry professionals discussing the changes and transitions in our industry as a contractor perspective. And I was very intrigued because I was curious to see what the business side was actually showing. And what I hear from the distributors is very similar, that equipment replacement is down, but service parts are up. And especially as we're going through these technological transitions and refrigerant transitions, I do believe we're going to see a lot more of a repair-based service for a period of time over the next few years as we're going through these transitions. And so to be able to adequately predict some of these potential failures is going to be extremely important going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean I think that you bring up a good point in that the generation, I think I heard recently the average age is 55 and the 50, 55 in the technician landscape.
Yeah.
We have to spend some time with the technician group for sure. It's a bit of a change. What we say is like, look, this is better for your customer, right? They will respect the options and the interactions you have with them in the future more when you bring this transparency in. And it's better for you. You don't want to be running truck rolls that are going to end up in what is a high pressure sales situation where there's not a lot of revenue to be had. Like, so how do we maximize your time on site and increase your overall effectiveness, and hopefully, overall income?
Yeah, Steve, this is exactly why we have these conversations. So let's think about that. Your 14-year-old system is really about the same as my 4-year-old system, right? So we're talking about probably non-communicating systems that are, still working fine. But think of the things that we can monitor. We're going to dive into what this technology can monitor and how it's actually doing it. And I think you'll be very intrigued because I myself, when I was first introduced into SmartAC, I thought, if a system's running fine, what are we going to be tracking? What can we be doing? But it intrigued me at the same time because I was also realistic that technology has changed everyone's life.
I'd like to make a quick point, Clifton.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of the homeowners now are used to these sorts of things that you're describing to me. Like they have a smart TV. And they have streaming apps, and those streaming apps, based on what you've watched before, are now predicting, we think you'd like this. We think you'd like this. So this is nothing new for them.
Oh.
But on the technician side, like he pointed out, yeah, this is something we're going to have to get used to. But as a homeowner, they're kind of expecting this already, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. You know, my refrigerator tells me when my water filter is ready to be replaced. You know, is it doing it by timer? Yes. Are some of them doing it by pressure? They absolutely are. You know, we have differential pressure on some of these newer units that are actually telling us exactly what is happening before it gets there. And I myself, as a consumer, would love to know ahead of time, and still, instead of being at the last minute going, all right, now where did I find that filter at the last time?
Yeah, I like Eugene's comment just now. All air conditioners are created equally, and then they are installed. So many of the contractors that we have utilize our system on new installations, and there's a couple of reasons. Number one is that if there's a home with a single air conditioning home, right, single central air system, and you've just pulled a lot of the margin out of that relationship, you don't really want to go back that much, because the big ticket's been had, but you want to service that customer and create, customer lifetime value. How do you do that? Well, you can put monitoring on to know when you need to go back and actually go back. Then you can delay those visits to when there's something needed, or at the request of the customer specifically, right? So there's some avoidance there that makes sense operationally. But the second benefit that we didn't actually envision this as being a strong use case, but has become, is it's validation for the commissioner's job. And what's happened is usually we've characterized the system fully within 48 to 72 hours. We're looking at all the conditions associated with it. We're looking at outside air. We're looking at system operation, building environment conditions, homeowner behavior, and we can see what's going on. Well, imagine at 48 to 72 hours, the contractor knows that something's wrong before the homeowner does. Right. So we've uncovered, improper manufacturing fan settings. And I'll say improper, I'm not placing blame on anybody, but it wasn't set up correctly.
Properly. We've never got those calls before, have we, Ty?
And so what we're seeing is, the customer's comfortable, but this thing's dehumidifying like crap.
Right.
And when the conditions come up, the customer's going to know they're going to feel sticky and humid. So the contractor now knows, and he's calling the customer and saying, hey, we hope you're enjoying your new system. We love to do a quality happy visit where we just come back and recheck everything. What he's really there to do is to cover up what will be a callback, but that callback might happen in June, July, or August when you don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there's some really cool stuff that's come out of it, and it's all powered by the data. And I'll qualify saying, I'm a mechanical engineer out of school, and early on I was definitely a part of the concept and building it in the engineering. But we turned it over to experts. And so you guys are much more qualified to ask deep engineering questions and answer them than I am. So I'll go as deep as we can.
Sure.
But what the system is doing, if you want to scan down a couple slides and quickly just go through some of the, smart maintenance involves data collection, data visualization, customer engagement. The collection starts with, how do we actually get the data, right?
Yes.
This is where people tend to be a little bit blown away, and they say, how do you do that with 3 sensors? And it really is just 3 sensors that create this experience. On the next slide, we have what we call the comfort sensor. It sits on the outside of the supply vent, and we're monitoring temperature and humidity in this case. So we're getting the output, but the output delivered to the actual environment where the comfort needs to be delivered. And the next slide, we show the filter sensor, and this is on the return air input. This one is doing temperature and humidity, but it's also doing pressure, right, downstream of the air filter. So we're looking at airflow. So we've got vent-to-vent delta T across those with temperature. But then we also have the static pressure that builds up as particulates build up on the filter. So we can see where levels shouldn't be, right, that are high limit. And we can look at static. And this does several things, obviously. Like, it's not only is the system running at a healthy level, like is there a problem that needs to be addressed with airflow as a whole, but on a clean filter, as it builds up, the homeowner needs to be notified at some point. Like, tell me a homeowner that knows exactly when an air filter needs to be changed. Like, it doesn't exist. Right? In our polling, 20% of homeowners have never ever changed the air filter ever. Right? Didn't even know it existed. I mean, in our beta testing, I had people tell me, "Oh, my system doesn't need a filter." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's incredible. Show me what kind of system you have."
Yeah.
And so that really gives us a great view of the actual delivered performance to the system. And then we also, during our research, looked at so much of the calls are related to the dehumidification, right? And water, right? Should it be present, and where should it be present? If it's in the drain pan, you've already got an issue. And so bringing that up and highlighting it, homeowners get this information, contractors get this information, and it's a way. This is a big one, right? This is what because people know water leads to damage, and so this is a huge motivator, right? So you start stacking up the motivations on why people sign up for this. And it's not just because of a discount. There's all these other things like, oh, this will save me from water. Like that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I was very impressed with the way the system is actually set up. It's very easy to do. I actually put together about a 5-minute video of doing the installations myself on my own system, screenshotting the actual instructions off from the unit. If we have enough time, we'll play that later. But I'm telling you, it was very intuitive, very easy. And what do we get out of that? I mean,
so the contractor, we simplify it, right? Data is not useful to anyone, right? So we've got a principle here that all data has to result in a recommended action, because if it's not a recommended action, then nobody gets any value out of it. So yes, we've got rich data, but from a contractor side, we just want to let them know where there's revenue opportunity and that the homeowner is actually being cared for. But that's all done through our side. We'll let you know when there's an issue. We want you to be the hero to place that call to the homeowner, say, hey, we're concerned. But behind the scenes, in the next slide, there is immense amounts of data. We're collecting data every 30 seconds, and we can see everything. We can see on-off cycles of the pressure. We can see the temperature drop. We can see the space, time to temp, time between cycles, and then also the effectiveness of each cycle. And that's measured against all sorts of things. Obviously, outside air and humidity play a big difference or role in that. And so we're constantly characterizing the system, not only what it's doing today, but what the nameplate said it was capable of in a lab setting, and also what it's doing against itself, right? So much of these failures in comfort, right? When we call a breakdown as a failure in comfort, not even necessarily a failure in equipment, right? So much of these failures in comfort result from things that get worse over time, and these trends are observable, right? And I don't want to say it's simple and it's easy. It's not. We worked on all of this for years before we ever brought it out into the public, because we knew the hardest grades on this stuff are the guys like you that understand exactly how these systems operate. And if we came out saying stuff that wasn't true, or we didn't fully understand what was going on, we get we get lambasted, right? So so we have data scientists. We've got people that literally have their masters in the design and implementation of HVAC systems. Like there's a lot of smart people that look behind the scenes and craft all of this data and turn it into actions. And that's on both sides, right? The homeowner and the contractor.
Yeah, I can imagine, when you're looking at, data that's being retrieved from the system, from your home conditions, data that is being utilized from your location. So it's looking at ambient airs, it's looking at ambient pressures, it's looking at humidity. And we're also looking at the outdoor unit. Now, I don't know if there was a slide that showed that. I did in that video. You're actually using a phone to capture data off from the outdoor unit, which I'm assuming is for capacity.
Well, we have a weather API that gathers all the outdoor conditions. Sure. So we don't technically have a sensor that's looking at the condenser itself outside, no. but we're actually absolutely looking at the outdoor conditions, what it's operating in.
Okay, very, very cool.
I heard you say that you're looking at the system under different sets of conditions, and against itself and things like that. That's kind of fascinating to me. One of the questions I have is does it look at other systems that are geographically close to me and see how it's performing compared to maybe that system?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think it steps a little bit more into a roadmap for us. We absolutely know that there is value in the data for comparison's sake. Don't fully know where the best place for that information to go is to drive the benefit and value. Certainly, Department of Energy might be one. Manufacturers.
That's what I was thinking. Yes.
Might be
as
one.
you get more of yours into the field, as we get more and more of these systems online, that becomes an easier task. Right now, like I said, it's early on in the roadmap, but as more and more of these are deployed, that becomes a little bit easier task.
Yeah, I'd like to say that someday we could be the Carfax for air conditioning systems, but there's so much human element, right? These are assembled on site,
right? The
humans,
installation,
right? And so, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we can start comparing in a way between OEMs. I hope we do, but we've got to find a way to normalize against the human element of the installation, how the system's operating.
The other thing I was looking at was home performance per se. If I have two of the same systems and it's performing well in this house, but not in this house, it could be a defect in the home itself rather than the system, something in the shell or the windows or the insulation, something along those lines.
Oh, absolutely. So we actually look at temperature in that water sensor as well. So we're looking at attic temperature, and we're trying to utilize that data for contractor information purposes to say, look, your system's jamming, but your attic is 140 degrees. And so to solve that, you need more insulation, right? So that's my recommendation to you, is not do anything with your system. And that's one of the best things you can do for overall, weatherization, building effectiveness is that. And so we're trying to, utilize the information in different ways where it benefits everybody.
We did have one question that came in. It's a great question. Osvaldo is checking in from San Pedro and is asking about the data history. I'm a data fanatic. So I love my trending data because I can tell so much off from it. You're obviously using pre-built algorithms and pre-built designs and AI to do it much faster than we can. How much tracking does this actually do backwards for us?
All the way. We don't ever get rid of data, right? Really? Data, it literally is the secret sauce behind everything we do. The value in our company is the mass amounts of data that we have through, like you said, algorithms and AI. So from the day it's installed, we track it. And even after there's a replacement and ongoing, like we know the new system is in there, there's a flag. And so we've got comparison data. Data is never going away for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's a good selling tool when you have monitoring on an existing system and you upgrade to a newer, higher efficiency system where you can show the difference between those two systems.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, we tried to pull from all the best examples that in other industries we could. And you think about when you go and get your car serviced and they get the oil change and they're bringing out all these readings, right? They're looking at your tire pressure and all that. And they show you where you are, right? And then they do their service and then they come back and say, now here's where you are now. The same thing exists for us in one area of the app. It's called the Insights area, where it's got history. Right. So when you say there's a problem, you can tell the homeowner, look, I'm not trying to sell you something because you don't need it. If you pull up your app in the Insights area, I can show you why we're concerned. You can see the drop off in performance over the last day or week. And then when they go out there and they make the fix, say, now pull the app up now. See how everything's back in alignment. There's just a real different way to build that customer trust when you expose the data. And again, we expose very, very little to the homeowner, just enough to be able to point to, like you said, and say, now it's working.
Right. You're not trying to overload them with all of these data points and they're going to be like, yeah, this is over my head.
Yeah. If you go down a couple slides or just one slide, actually, you'll see that the homeowner engagement aspect of this is super clean and it's contractor forward. You actually have to kind of dig to get to the data area, right? That's we call it the nerd section. And those are definitely, those homeowners exist and they go in. We have people that check it every single day.
Right here. As soon as I got it loaded, I'm like, where's my data? I know it's in here someplace. I want my data. And then I started looking at it and went, oh, I've got a consumer version of this.
That's exactly right. Right. We don't want to overload a consumer with it. The experience on the homeowner side is much more about what you can bring them because they're a member on your program.
You bet.
The first one here is a live technician. So we have a call center, and one of the things that came out in our homeowner interviews and surveys was, I just want someone to help me. Right. That is the thing. I want someone to help me, and I don't want to have to go Google, and I want to ask a neighbor, and I don't have to go through these things. Like, And this button is literally just a live technician chat. So on our side, we've got technicians that man it, and we're just trying to give a homeowner that immediate sense of peace of there's somebody here helping you right now, right? So we've already taken that stress level down immediately. And whether we can fix it or not on site, if you go to the next slide, many times it results in us recommending that they schedule service. We're like, look, this is not something remotely can be solved, but if you tap up there, you can schedule service, and Abacus is going to be out there, and they're going to help you with what you need, because this is actually a problem that needs to be resolved. And go ahead.
So you can tell from the data, let's say there's a dirty condenser or something that you're not going to be able to fix over the phone, but you're going to recommend, say, a service company. Listen, we can tell by this data there's a mechanical or a physical issue with the system, and you're going to need a service call. Yeah,
there's two layers to that. One, what we're typically doing is walking through general troubleshooting stuff, right? As your thermostat gone haywire, is there a circuit that's tripped? Is there something that would make this be a easy solution that's you as a homeowner can resolve? Once we walk through that troubleshooting, and a lot of that is automated, by the way, we use AI for a lot of that. In fact, over 60% of every one of these chats gets resolved with a bot, and the human's never involved in this. But the other side of that is we're not trying to dig into the data and tell them what's wrong. Again, we're a little more like the smoke detector. The fire truck's still going to show up. The expert needs to come in and tell you what's wrong, because we also, in no way do we ever want to devalue what that person is there to do as the expert, is to examine the system and look at it and say, no, I've looked at everything and here's what I found. And because they're going to have their own suite of solutions, right? They may have good, better, best. They may have, Band-Aid to new, like they're going to present in their own way. We don't want to get in the way of that process. We just want to make sure that interaction occurs.
Yeah, one of the questions that came in from Paul, and Paul, this is one of them that I was interested too. What does the customer have to look at for like performance? And I was actually quite surprised. So it is doing daily tracking of operating cycles. So I immediately knew how much time my system was running, how many times, how long. And so I could actually monitor and have my own basic comparison. It's not pulling data for the consumer to analyze, but it is absolutely showing you, run times throughout a day. So you have some comparison.
And you can look at it day over day.
Yes.
Like today to yesterday to the, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Daily and weekly comparisons. And the other side of that is that to get them engaged and to bring additional value, we're constantly putting in things that are mental encouragement for the continuation of service, and that's where our member credit section there comes in. Is this kind of acts like airline miles, if you think about it that way, and that what a lot of times when someone signs up for a membership, they'll get $200 or $300 put into their comfort credits in day one, and we say, look, thank you for signing up. This can be used on a future major ticket that you have with us, because we know that day is going to be painful and we just want to help. And in fact, you're paying us $20 a month, $10 of that is going to continue to build up into that bank for you. And then the contractor gets to decide what's the level that they want to apply that to. Most of it, it's a minimum equipment purchase. So think of, a new water heater, $4,000 or $5,000, and they are thrilled to give away $300 or $400 to make sure they get that call and discount whatever the price is that they deliver at that time, because they didn't pay any advertising to get that call back. And that's a huge thing for us, is how do we take this customer out of the advertising pool and to continue to deliver them value.
Absolutely.
Well, when you have customers like Clifton that stare at this app kind of on a daily basis and look at the system, so there's that daily engagement with the company, with the product, with the entire system. So if you're obsessed with with the data and the performance, there's a lot of us out there that would do this. The more times that they open up that app and look at that performance, that's just another engagement with your company, with the tech, with the design, actually.
You bet.
Yeah. And so we like to think of it from a homeowner perspective, is it's maybe a little less about the daily engagement. We want to give them the peace of mind that somebody's watching.
Yeah. And
we'll let you know when you need to look, but you don't need to look at it every day, like changing a temperature on the thermostat. We want to inform you about the important things. Go the next slide down.
Sure.
When you have water leak, two down. When you have a water leak, we're going to let you know, right? And you can add additional water sensors to pick up plumbing aspects. Most of our contractors we work with are multi-trade.
hadn't thought
And
about that.
so you can pick up other places. So let's cover your home for water, right? So you can do kind of an air and water protect package under this membership. And then we're going to let you know, because we're monitoring your air filter life, we're going to let you know when it gets down to 0. And by the way, if you tap right here, it will show you exactly the sizes you have in your home. And then if you tap one more time, we'll ship them to your home. It'll be there in roughly 3 days, and it'll be at or below the cost of Amazon, because we're not trying to make money off of you on your filters. That's something you need to do. We're trying to provide a better service. And so we kind of, like, again, we borrowed a lot from existing things that worked, like AAA. AAA is a peace of mind service that people want to be able to call and know in an emergency they've got someone, and that's our live technician button. Costco, you know that there's limited options if you stop at a Costco, but they've done the shopping for you to deliver value, and you know that, right? And that's air filters for us. Is you're going to get a good deal. We're not trying to make money off of you. We just want to improve the service quality so that you continue to use us for the next time there is that emergency. And then the next slide, it actually answers one of the questions that came in, which is, here, we're going to deliver you a monthly health report, tell you what's going on. And you may look at this the first few months and never open it again. But you don't have to, because as a homeowner, you're like, they've got me covered. I'm comfortable. I've got the peace of mind. I'm good. I know that they'll show up or let me know if something needs to be addressed. I can, go on doing what I need to do.
Yeah, I thought that was very intriguing with the amount of tracking that is available for the homeowner, like I said, monthly.
It's try to have general awareness that the contractor's working on your behalf. Yeah. And then, what our big goals are, we go back to the original metrics. It's how do you reduce truck rolls but still drive value remotely? How do you avoid those costs where you can? So we have a feature, it's called virtual visits. If you were at that house in the spring and you did your tune-up and everything's jamming along, in the fall you look and we say, look, we don't believe there's revenue to be had here, but how do you create a touch point? You can record a 1 or 2 minute video from your technician or a service tech in the office saying, hey, Ms. Jones, this is your fall checkup. I'm looking at your data right now. Everything looks good. Good job on changing your air filter. System's jamming along. No reason to be out there. We'll see you again in the spring. Right. Wow. And now you've just delivered value remotely, and you never had to roll that truck, but you've continued to build the trust. So that's kind of, you'll see the
that's
theme.
A personal aspect.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
do like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So on the next slide is where we try and really pull it all together. Where previously the homeowner felt day one, they got a good experience because they had a repair, you returned their comfort, but then over time they didn't. So we have the concept of a nurture cycle. How many times can you deliver remote value via the app, via digital experience, or a live virtual visit where they're like, man, I will never change companies. And that's really what our whole goal is to always keep it up over the perceived value line. So anytime they look at there and go, why am I paying $20 a month? That it's a no brainer. They're like, this is the best $20 of the month I've ever spent.
Yeah.
That's a peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I started thinking about just the filter aspect. I'm the mechanic that drives the old clunker. My wife is like, have you changed the filter this month? And I go, well, see, what month is it? Oh, let me think here for a minute. I got to remember what size my own filter is. Isn't that horrible?
Well, see, and that's the thing. You went through the install. You saw that's all captured during your onboard, right?
Yeah,
and did you actually go out and take a nameplate photo?
I did. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
I went through the entire process just to be able to show people how easy it is, and it really was quite a simple setup. And I can tell the data that it's actually capturing as I'm doing this process. So as a technician, I was very intrigued. I'll be honest as to what my data starts looking like, because I have things from like my smart thermostat that'll tell me some, run time scenarios and blah, 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 blah. There's nothing like pulling it up and actually looking at the consistent run times and tracking it and looking at other previous days. I mean, I know that's kind of stupid stuff I do, but yes, I do that stupid stuff.
I do it too. So don't say, yeah.
It's intriguing to have all of this data at our fingertips and not be able to do anything with it. And so as we start having access to this as a homeowner, I know that I pay for services that I probably don't get to see what's actually happening. But the service like this, I'm actually looking at my own system. If I get that warrant, if I get that call, hey, Mr. Beck, I've noticed that your system is getting excessive run time and that the temperature is actually starting to drop in your house over the last couple of weeks. Might be time for a checkup. The filter inspection. Looks good. I can see where you've been changing your filters. And I might go, I've been changing my filters. Let me go back and look. Oh gosh, I guess I have been changing them every couple of months. Yeah, it probably is time to have somebody take a look at this thing. So it adds that extra, interaction, which I like. I personally enjoyed that piece of it.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks. I mean, I know that you guys are, you're not an easy audience, right? Because you know your business very, very well. So I appreciate the kind words on it. The credit to this platform goes to a lot of industry experts that we have worked with. We started early pulling in advisors and people who are from the industry. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of feedback of people who are living this life, and we're saying, how do we make it a little bit easier for them to do their jobs, create a better experience, but actually make more money in the process.
From the outside looking in, in my opinion, one of the things that I feel, my saying is that all air conditioners are created equal and then they're installed. This part of it, if we're installing these, would drive better installs, because we would know from day one, if, like you said, if there was an issue with the installation, like the dip switch was on the wrong setting and we had the wrong airflow, we're not dehumidifying properly, we would see those things in the data, and it's going to force technicians to do better installs.
Yeah, we're not a replacement for something like a MeasureQuick, right? That is really, that's where you validate in a true sense every aspect of that operationally. So I don't want to like take that platform away from those companies that are really good that exist. But we are a good litmus test of, is the consumer going to feel some sort of discomfort from the way that the system is left now, and tracking it over time with some predictability as to when that might be. But yeah, we're trying. We're doing our best on that front.
But it looks, I'm not gonna lie, it looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I was a little nervous coming on the show, honestly, watching some of your prior episodes and the depth that you guys go into, your technical knowledge, and all you guys,
we can nerd out if we need to.
Yeah, I know. And that's, and like I say, there is so much real rich, valuable data behind the scenes, and off camera. I'm happy to really go deep with you guys and bring in our experts and do that, because the most important thing that we have to build in the industry is trust. It's not snake oil, it's real. Like we can tell you some really real things that are going on. It's one of the biggest, I'd say, barriers in breaking into the industry a few years ago, was people look at it and say, it's 3 sensors. What can you do with that? And you can do a lot.
Apparently, yeah, looking at all those data points you're recording and the way you're, again, AI predictability, those sorts of things, algorithms, it's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, well, thanks. The biggest barrier that we still have to overcome is the adoption of of any technology, right? Of just a technology, and then you have to drive real change inside your organization. Right? You have to be willing to make this a priority, and that really starts at the top, right? Whoever the leader is of that, whether it's a GM or an owner, is saying, I'm going to make membership programs our biggest thing for 2025. I'm going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to determine how much found money there is sitting inside of this program and this effort that I can pull out. But we gotta make change. We gotta have a champion that will help create that change inside of it. And then we gotta have CSR adoption, technician adoption, and we have to be willing to change the membership programs to align with how to pull that value out. And that's where honestly, we spend a lot of our time with that. After someone says, "Man, this is really cool, I want to buy," and I say, "Okay, thank you, we love that," but buying isn't enough. You actually have to take it all the way through the full implementation, where these have to be metrics you talk about on a monthly basis, just like you do blended average ticket or something else, right? You gotta pull it in and highlight the relevance of what a program can do for you, because really, I like to equate it with this is like a 401k. If your membership program is working well, it's compounding over time. You're getting more people sign up, less people leave, and more of your revenue comes from non-advertised sales. right? And that's a compounding effect that over time will deliver back, millions and millions to your bottom line.
And the intangible side of it is more happier customers,
Exactly.
comfortable customers.
That's what we started with, right? Slide one: better for customers, better for technicians, better for your profits, right? We have literally tried to spend so much time thinking about every feature and everything we develop, so that it's that triple win. So you don't have a reason not to at least want to try it and not want to implement it in your business, because we've seen it work. We've seen it work well. So yeah, we've been happy. But we still have a lot of road ahead of us. We're still relatively new on the scene.
Well, that's part of the reason we wanted to bring you in is, we spend most of our time talking about changes and innovations in our industry, whether that is equipment, whether that is refrigerants, whether that is software, whatever that is, we try to make sure that our industry is aware of where we're going. Because we are going to be a changing industry. Technology is going to continue to evolve into our daily life. We're going to see a lot of generations of equipment going away, new generations of equipment coming in, but we're also going to see new ways to manage our existing equipment, exactly like software like this, software along with hardware, doing a lot of data management, right? And that's really what it comes down to. If we can reduce the demand on our technicians and actually send the technicians out for the correct jobs versus, three of us have been technicians for a chunk of our life. How many times have we went on calls that were literally dirty air filters? And we had to find things to do while we were there because we were just there 3 or 4 months ago and the system is running great. But because we have been called, now we got a service call, now we got time, now we have to justify our presence there and feel bad about it as a technician versus a homeowner that now has the call that says, by the way, your system isn't performing well. It looks like you haven't changed your filter in a while. By the way, your filter is this size. By the way, we've got a special going on right now, and I'll send you a 4-pack of them if you're interested. Sounds kind of dreamy.
And the other thing is the longer you let it operate with a problem, the more that problem compounds.
Absolutely.
So something that was inexpensive, like a filter, can all of a sudden turn into the coil freezes, the blower motor burns out, and now all of a sudden it's $1,000 ticket when it could have been a 99-cent filter.
Well, or just, avoiding the hassle of that escalation, right? We monitor, you've seen it, we monitor supplier temp. We can see when the temperature is actually going lower than it should be. And we know when a coil's freezing, right? And so we send coil freeze alerts because we want the homeowner to know as soon as possible to shut that unit off so that your technician's not showing up and having to unfreeze a block for 4 hours.
I'll be back.
30 minutes. That's right.
We turn the fan on, shut the unit off. I'll see you in a little while.
If you can create the same ticket in half the time, that's better for both parties.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about different changes in the industry as regards to equipment, and much of the industry change I think has been prompted by a regulatory force. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there starts to be a little bit more accountability for system performance,
especially on commissioning.
Yeah, delivered performance.
Yes, delivered. I don't know how far away that might be, or 5 or 10 years, but it already exists in the utility world where a lot of these heat pump programs. If you're going to take advantage of a heat pump rebate to utility, you've got to have a monitoring system. You have to go through an M&V process, right? That says, this is what's happening, and you have to show me. So some of our customers literally are just these companies that go and do heat pump swap outs, and then they put our system on to do validation of performance after the fact.
Love it.
I don't want regulatory to be the reason that we are successful. I want this to be, for all the right reasons, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is part of it.
That's your early adopters, right? Yeah,
you bet.
Ty, you've been working with any of the? Are you working with any of the energy companies or any other programs currently with any parts of the nation?
Yeah, we have pilots going with a couple of them. Yeah, directly with the utilities. I think the majority, of what we have done today, it's all through the contractor network. And if they are part of the program, then we'll kind of get pushed back into it. But we've got a couple utility direct pilots that we've run.
Just as one of my big concerns is the fact that we have so many systems out there that are oversized. Oversized systems are just plaguing the entire industry constantly, and that's causing the high humidity issues. So having the runtime and seeing that it's short cycling in the middle of summer and having that data to prove that, to show that, I mean, that's important. And if that came from somebody other than just a contractor, that it was like, hey, here's a utility company saying, hey, your system is oversized, or a third party saying, hey, this is not working correctly. I mean, it gives a lot more data, to help combat that.
Yeah, to date, I don't know of a direct story where a technician has used our product as a leave behind for a follow-up sale like that, but I can imagine that happening, where they tell the homeowner, "Oh, look, I can do everything I can, but the system's oversized." Right? And I can try and show you all my data for my gauges and all that stuff, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this system on. I'm going to monitor it. I'm going to fix what needs to be done today, but honestly, it'll never be fixed correctly. You need a new system. That's not me telling you. That's the data. And then I'll call you in a few weeks and I'll actually show you. You can you pull up your app. You can see short cycling. This will never be fixed by any technician because
there's nothing you're going to do to this unit to make it work the way that you want it to.
That's the value I see. It would be huge because customers think bigger or better. You got a lot of technicians that are good at repairing stuff, and unfortunately, they're saying bigger is better. Then you got companies that a lot of times just want to sell a box, and hey, we can get more money by selling something bigger. We'll slap it in, and then there's the huge false one that is that inverters will just automatically adjust for any condition, and it's being a huge issue all across. I just recently had a lady that she had spent like all of her money, $25,000, putting in her standard AC system, and it's oversized. And there's no solve for an oversized system other than pull it out and put in the right size system. And have measure quick, and I can get some of this data to show it. But data logging over time would be, it has something that they could actually put in their hands. So if they went to court, they could actually say, hey, I have the data that shows, third-party data that shows, this system is not working properly because it's oversized. Stuff like that could be
performance,
big.
Right?
Yes,
that's a use case. I'd never imagined that our data was going to be taken to court.
Well, just spend a little time. We'll bring out all the crazy. We have so many rabbit holes, Andrew.
Yeah,
I get requests for this often, and I always say no because I want to stay out of the court realms.
Right.
It's never gone well for me, even with the best intentions. So I always want to stay away from that. But at the same time, you have people that have been, ripped off and being hurt, and they need some data to protect themselves. And so I will give people data and say, hey, here's that. Here's a report. Here's everything, that I can do for you. I'm not taking any sides. I'm just saying, hey, here's my evaluation of a house or whatever. And so I think stuff like that could help, and maybe help turn the industry of people saying, maybe if we have mold growth in a house, this is happening in fire stations because they're putting in systems and the fire station itself isn't built right, having mold issues all across the country. And they're having to, in some cases, tear entire buildings down because of the mold issue, because of oversized features. So somebody can go out and say, yeah, your pressures look good. It doesn't mean anything. So like measure quick, I can go out and say, hey, here's a report of how the system's running. But beyond that, having something where I can show
over time, under a variety of conditions,
here's how it
doesn't require you showing up, right? Yeah.
Yep. And we can share this data. You can see the full performance of it. I think that's a big factor.
Yeah. Well, I even think about, contractors who do a lot of work in, smaller areas. I know myself, when I was a contractor, I had areas that I did a lot of homes in neighborhoods. And if I had a home that was being monitored and tracked with a system that I have recently installed, or, over a period of time it had installed, and I have other homeowners that are curious, what does a proper running system look like? And I could go, well, tell you what, let me leave this here. We'll monitor yours for a week, and I'll show you what you could be doing, because you have comparative data to analyze. Wow.
Great. No, I mean, I can keep the use cases coming, guys. This is great.
Oh, open up the chat. Who's next?
Brainstorm. Yes, we should brainstorm.
Oh, no, he's out there. I'm surprised he hasn't hopped in here yet. Eugene, a lot of people out here hanging in, and we're so grateful that you all have. This has been a fun conversation. I'm glad we got to this point. And, we have to talk about changes. We have to be positive about them. They are coming. They're here. We just have to be well informed. If we can break that barrier, if we can get past the unknown side of change, then it becomes, standard practices. And
but I can see from this product that they're handling all of the tough stuff on the back end.
Yeah.
On the front end, you, like you said, you installed it in a few minutes. It was a few sensors, and they handle all the data, all the analyzation. So as far as like this change hurting a little bit, I don't really see it. Again, this is an easy one to make.
Yep.
Well, we try, and we like to think so. But technicians out there have been doing what they do for a long time and are very good at it. So we say our biggest problem is if these were failing businesses that lost money, it would be easy to go in and coach and say you need to do something differently. These businesses they're making money, right? They're well run by all accounts. And so taking one that's already good and saying, hey, we're going to make you better.
Yeah,
the impetus for change is necessarily there because it's not a pain point. So they have to view the opportunity as enough to drive that change, and then be able to communicate that throughout the entire organization. And that to me is probably one of the biggest hurdles that we have out there.
I can tell you as a technician, if I'm we got a call from Miss Jones this morning. She says she doesn't think it's working. You show up and there's absolutely nothing wrong. All right, you would be able to tell that from the data that there's absolutely nothing wrong. That's where that message comes in. Hi, Miss Jones, I'm looking over your data. Your system is performing pretty good. We'll see you you know what I mean? That is phenomenal.
Are you also monitoring any IAQ stuff like parts particulate or VOCs or CO2?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you opened Pandora's box here. We have spent so much time and effort developing this hardware for these use cases, but we recognize we're only scratching the surface on what's possible for other trades. Mm-hmm. IAQ being one, water filtration, electrical, garage door, you name it. All of these are maintenance opportunities. If given a little data visibility, will increase the relationship and enhance that between a homeowner and contractor. So what we have is a major 2025 initiative is to open what I call our ecosystem to find already best of breed hardware people out there with communicating devices, right, and say, how do we work together? Like via API? That's right. Let's partner. So let's find out ways to highlight how good your device is. And all we need is these points, and then it will feed into the interaction that you have, right? Yeah. So that's what we're doing across our multi-trade contractors is saying, tell me right now if you're a plumber and you want an auto shut off, who are you going to, right? Because that's where we're going to go first to have those conversations, and then feed that stuff in to just create that relationship. And we're not trying to be the IoT smart home. We don't care about light switches and all that stuff. We're looking at who's on the other side of this from a maintenance perspective. What trade is on the other side? That's the devices that we're focused on.
You betcha. Yeah, Froggy Blue is right. It just needs data to be fed to it. It's it's a hungry monster. I see it growing. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Still a lot of people out there hanging in. We're grateful for everyone. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. This is a good conversation. I'm glad that we got to discuss this. Look forward to diving deeper down the road. I don't need to get too far into the analytics. I got enough to nerd out on my side so far, but I'll definitely keep in touch. And if anyone wants to learn more, Andrew, how can they find out more about SmartAC?
Well, it's in the name, smartac.com. If you go there and you're a contractor, you're looking to connect, there's a partner, data collection area. We want to collect basic information about you. We can reach out and have a further conversation. If you want to just connect with me directly, you can go to my LinkedIn, Andrew Fuselier, type that in. There's not a lot of us out there. I think there's one. And then ping me, and happy to connect that way. Or my email is andrew.fuselier@smartac.com. There's a number of different ways, but love to connect with anybody that has an interest in it. Honestly, just figure out how to help your business. We've seen a lot of change in the last year or two with PE roll-ups and the cost of advertising increasing. So our whole goal is, how do you take people out of the advertising pool? How do you reallocate to some of that budget to have revenue that's going to come back to you without competing for it? I
can't think of how many times I go to a house and it's got one sticker on top of another sticker on top of another sticker on top of another sticker.
Yeah. I have a question, Clifton. You're going to post the video of the install you did. I'd be curious to watch that.
You guys want to?
Well,
Yes.
I mean,
I
yeah.
can throw it up if we got 5 minutes. Andrew, if you're running out of time, you're welcome to jump. Anyone else that wants to stay, we normally cut it off at an hour, but we're still going and everyone's still here. So yeah, I'll go ahead and throw that in. If anyone has to go, glad that you joined us. We'll see you next week on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. If not, I will see you in 5 minutes. And let me go find. Yep, there it is. Hold on a second. Many of our modern HVAC systems have onboard diagnostics as well as ways for reading temperature thermistors and pressure transducers to give us an accurate understanding of the performance and the operating of our system. But what about our legacy systems? Well, we've had technology become very prevalent in our industry in many forms, and one way is the introduction into sensors and software to monitor existing systems. So we're going to be taking a look at the SmartAC system. We've heard a lot about it in the industry. So we're going to actually do a connection to my home system, which is just a plain Jane 14-SEER air conditioner with a single stage 95% gas furnace. I know, no, not my preference, came with the house, and it was a new home, so we're going to ride it out for a while until we can update this thing into a modulating inverter system. But for now, we have an existing single stage outdoor and single stage indoor that we can monitor. Now, when I open this, I find that I have very simple QR codes for the app for both Apple or for Android devices. We have our hub, and we have 3 different sensors, I'm going to presume. And we're going to have our connections for that. So let's pull this out, see what else we have here. All right, so we've also got our power adapter, presumably for the hub. We have a riser for presumably water sensor, it says water sensor riser. And we have our quick setup guide, which we will dive into in more detail in this video. So we're gonna go connect this thing, see what kind of readings we have, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into these home HVAC monitoring devices and software. Okay, first thing we need to do is open up our camera, scan our QR to be able to grab the app. We'll go ahead and get that, add it to our mobile device. And once we have downloaded that, we can open the app and off we go.
Welcome to SmartAC.com. This setup will only take a few minutes, and we'll guide you through each step. Included, you'll find the SmartAC Hub, sensors tailored to your home, and a few accessories that are helpful in some situations. The comfort sensor monitors the hot or cold air coming from your vents. Tracking the performance of the system allows us to detect small problems before they become costly repairs. The filter sensor tracks the lifespan of your air filters, alerting you when they need to be changed. Optimizing filter replacements can save you up to 15% on your energy bills. The water sensor guards against leaks and clogs that can cause catastrophic damage to your home. Finally, the SmartAC Hub sends data to the cloud, allowing us to monitor system health and alert you when needed. All right, let's get started.
Okay, our first instruction is to scan the QR code. So we'll allow access to our camera. We'll pull up the hub, grab the QR on the back of it, and see if we can get this zoomed in. Yep, there we go. All right, now we can add our email address and get this thing registered. The next step along the process is to find a good place to install the hub, and then we'll connect to our local internet through Wi-Fi or through the landline, and we'll get this thing connected to the cloud.
First, activate each sensor by removing the battery tab. The light will blink when the sensor powers on.
Now that the sensors are online, we go through a quick tutorial to determine which type of system you have for best location placement.
This one is the water sensor, the blue one. Place the sensor inside the pan near the drain line. Now it's time for the filter sensor, the gray one. Start by locating the larger intake vent where your air filters go. They're usually in a wall or in the ceiling. Choose the one closest to the comfort sensor we just installed. Remove the air filter and record the size.
Now let's install the comfort sensor. Each sensor is labeled and color-coded on the back. The comfort sensor is the white one. Start by locating a supply vent in the same room as your thermostat. Supply vents are the smaller ones that blow hot or cold air into the room. Place the sensor in the middle of the vent. In most cases, the magnets will hold it securely in place. If your vents are not magnetic, click below for mount and clip instructions.
After we have selected the location of our supply vent, we've determined if we're going to accept notifications or not, we move on to the portion where we enter nameplate data. And it's a fantastic opportunity to utilize AI technology to record the information for the outdoor unit. So we simply take a photo, it recognizes the information, and then we put in some basic information about our system. Very cool technology. Did you see how dirty that filter was? That was the backside of it. I told you it was horrible.
That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed. It was very easy to install, very clear, good instructions, good animations too, man. The animations inside the app are fantastic.
We spent, tens of thousands of hours scripting that whole thing out and going through and getting animations and all that. We started with, if any homeowner can do it, then we created the pro technician side, right? Where in the pro app, it's simplified greatly, right? It's all the videos are there for reference, but these guys know what these parts are. So, we don't have to go into the explanation. So it's a much faster process there. The only thing I say is I saw your comfort sensor placement and you put it to the side. I'd like to slide it over about 3 inches, get it right in the middle, get that full airflow.
That's true. Absolutely.
It makes a little difference. It's not going to change it tremendously, but it definitely matters if you're getting full airflow there.
I see a new edit coming tonight. Give me a couple hours.
All right.
All right. Well, Andrew, we sure appreciate you spending time with us today. We encourage everyone to reach out.
I just had one more question. What about ductless units?
We haven't gone there yet, right? We get that question a lot. I'm not going to say that it's not in our roadmap at all, but we're really trying to focus on 70 million, single family homes that have central air. That's about 100 million actual systems to be monitored. So we feel like the pie is big enough if we stay there, but we realize there's a couple things. Ductless, one of it. Hydronic systems is another, where we've been asked to go because we're now in Canada as well. So there's definitely some expansion on the horizon.
Very cool. Anything else, Jason, Ty?
All right, that was cool.
Yeah, it was good stuff. All right. Well, Andrew, thanks so much. We encourage everyone to reach out to smartac.com, and we will see you all again next week on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC show. Bye, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.